Joe Rogan Podcast. Check it out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan Podcast by night, all day.
Nice to meet you, man.
You too, man.
It's
Really?
been a pleasure. I've seen so many of your fucking movies. It's always weird when you meet someone that you've seen so many times in movies. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, all right, there he is, real person.
Yeah, there they are. That's,
I didn't know you do. You released a gospel album though.
yeah, last year.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's called Fallen, a gospel record for sinners, because I wanted the biggest possible audience I could get.
Gospel record for sinners.
Yeah.
How long have you been singing gospel?
Well, you know, basically, I grew up in the Baptist church, and so it's 5 songs that I grew up with, and it's 5 songs that I wrote before and during the making of the record. It's kind of like my spiritual journey, I guess. That's the way it turned out in the end. My wife, she put the order together, and that's what it seems to be, kind of my journey in life.
Was this something that you had thought about for a while, or did it just kind of?
Yeah, I wrote this song called "On My Way to Heaven," and I wrote it for my mom to let her know that I was okay after I got out of like rehab and for cocaine in 1990, and then I wrote the "Fallen," which is kind of like taken from remember that movie Thunder Road with Robert Mitchum? You know, it's kind of like in that vein or that kind of feel to it. And there's this highway called the Devil's Backbone up near Bandera, and so it's a ride with the devil, and you wind up getting left for dead on the side of the road.
So this was just something that you felt like fuck it, I've done everything else. Why not do a gospel album?
Yeah, I've recorded. I've always been a songwriter. I got a guitar when I was 12 years old. My grandfather bought me, at Western Auto. It's a great place to buy guitars. And, I realized I was never going to shred a guitar, so songwriting became like a defense, something you could bring to a band.
Right.
And so I've always done it. And but I got this offer from Gaither because Bill Gaither had heard the song "On My Way to Heaven," asked me to do a gospel record. So I said, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a great experience, really. Really. And "On My Way to Heaven," in fact, Tanya Tucker heard it, and she called me up out of the blue. I hadn't seen her like in 30 years, and said she wanted to do it. So I said, okay. And then she called me 15 minutes later, and she said, Chris Christopherson wants to do it.
Whoa.
And I said, wow, so, and Brandy Carlisle's doing backup singing on it, and and myself, and we're going to put that out this year as a single.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. Chris is just the greatest.
I love that guy.
I love him.
One of the highwaymen.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. No kidding.
Wow. So you were telling me that you got to Hollywood in the 70s?
Yeah. I went out there. I was born in Houston, and grew up there. And I was in acting class. Mr. Pickett, we always bring him up because so many people actually started working. My brother was his student as well. And my brother was already out there in California, and he had been nominated for The Last Detail and stuff. And so I kind of realized, hey, you can actually do this stuff, and get paid for it. And I went out there in 75 and, just driven and got an agent after about a year.
Wow. Did you have any previous acting experience, or is it something
drama in college. I wasn't serious about it in high school. I was going to be a veterinarian. That's what I wanted to be.
Really?
Yeah. I was a vet's assistant up in East Texas. I'd spent summers up in East Texas, in Jacksonville, Frankston. And I worked for a vet when I was, 14, 15, and that's what I was going to do until one day we did like a house call out to this guy's farm to castrate his horse. And the farmer didn't want to sit out there in the field wait for him to wake up from a full anesthetic. So they only gave him half of it, and cinched his legs up like this. And that horse stood up on two legs, and it was just, man, it was horrific. And that kind of, I think that's what changed my mind. Maybe I should be an actor. And I'll play a veterinarian.
The horse, yeah, I'm sure the horse was not enjoying that.
No.
That's got to be a bad also, as a man, like, I don't want to do that. I didn't do that to my dog.
No.
I don't do that to any of my dogs.
No, you can get that done for free in California.
Right.
If you want.
Even if you're a person.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Yeah. Very different in the 70s, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, you went through, like, 70s in Hollywood must have been a weird experience, man.
Oh, it was fantastic. It was amazing, man. That whole era of the 70s, which started with Bonnie and Clyde and Easy Rider.
Great films.
Yeah.
Great films
during the French New Wave, is what they called it, kind of more handheld, grittier. And it was the return of the anti-hero and the rebel hero. And because Hollywood had lost touch with their audience, they were making movies like Toby Tyler and, these bloated musicals, so it became like the inmates had taken over the asylum. There was really new, exciting stuff getting done, like, Badlands and The Conversation, and, which led to The Godfather. And that was, I think, the golden age of filmmaking.
Well, certainly some amazing films came out of that era. Yeah. And it's just seeing Los Angeles today and imagining what it was like in the 70s. It had to be, because, really movies, if you really think about it, they were only a few decades old back then.
Yeah.
It was a new thing, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah. They just, perfected it. Really, it was only 10 years into where all the movies were color. They were making black and white movies up to 63,
Right. Like The Hustler was black and white.
Yeah.
That was 63.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was an exciting time. Like I said, the inmates had taken over the asylum, and it was a feeling like you could do just about anything. And music, too, was really happening in Los Angeles as well. Record deals were getting signed left and right. And there was this feel. It's kind of turned upside down now because of all that rebellious attitude of the 70s, and everybody who did it sort of became the establishment, I think.
Yeah, bizarre, right?
It's really kind of turned up on its ear because it started to kind of really turn politically correct in the 90s, and it became kind of a nobody stays at a party after 11 o'clock. No matter where.
Is that when you went into rehab?
Yeah. After that, no matter where you're going, you afterwards you got to pretend you were going to bed.
Oh, look at the time.
Yeah. Oh, look at the time. Oh. I guess everybody had kids too by that point, but then it got to where we are today. That you're getting warned to keep your mouth shut. Because of it turned upside down.
Well, it's also one ideology dominates, especially in Hollywood, dominates the entire business. One of the things that I said that drove me crazy about Hollywood was there's people that had differing opinions about things, but they would never speak out because it could damage their career.
Right.
And
That's
it really
what's going
can.
on now.
They will fucking blackball you.
They will. I mean, they tried, there were a couple attempts to cancel me while we were making Reagan, in fact, kind of half-hearted, I guess. But it has become that, and that ain't right. I mean, back then, few people really were, I guess, conservative. Let's throw out parties and just call it conservative. I mean, you had John Wayne.
John Voight.
Yeah. But you didn't know if John Voight was conservative back then.
He wasn't vocal about it?
Not back in the 70s, no. But it was basically John Wayne and Charlton Heston.
Right.
And that was pretty much about it. But or anybody wearing a tie.
Well, how did the rebels become, like, what the fuck happened? How did the rebels become the establishment?
We went through an era where remember it was tolerance. That was what we were trying to do, like back in the teens, I think, in the teens, where you tolerate other groups and all that. And that didn't last very long, and it seems like one had it over the other. But if you ask me where this great divide really started politically, I think, of course, there was Watergate, but you come up to like when the Republicans had their contract with America. I think it was like '94, the year that Clinton was going to be a lame duck president. They had those midterms, and then it started to become just along party lines, where there was no, you were a traitor if you went to the other side, or because we had conservative Democrats, we had liberal Republicans up until that point. That's what I grew up with, and that wasn't good enough anymore. And so it started there, and and then continued, and then the Democrats really took over, and they really do it really well as far as that stuff of turning things on their head. And they're I feel like today they were using the judicial system against Trump, which is
for sure
really off the reservation.
Well, they're using the judicial system against Trump. The entire media establishment, other than Fox News, is completely against anything Republican.
Right.
And it's filled. Did you see on Colbert the other day, Kristen Collins, is that her name?
Yeah. I saw that.
She said, when Colbert says, Fox just reports, or CNN just reports the facts, the whole audience starts laughing.
Yeah, was that a laugh line?
Yeah, he goes, well, I guess it is.
I guess it is.
Yeah, which is hilarious.
Look, people get it.
Oh, they do get it.
That's what,
well, the pandemic,
bolsters me is that people do get it. Sometimes I think everybody's just swallowing this.
There's a lot of people that are still swallowing. A lot of boomers, a lot of older folks that are just swallowing whatever's in the newspaper and whatever's on television.
And a lot of people aren't news wonkies like you and I.
Yeah.
They just get the sound bites, and that's what they do it for. And
it's disheartening. The more you do a deep dive on the actual facts about a thing, like I've heard people repeat. I've had conversations with people. They go, "Well, Trump's a felon. He's convicted of 34 felonies." I go, "Okay. Do you know what those things are? Do you know that they are misdemeanors?
Misdemeanors. Do you know that the statute of limitations had run out on this little misdemeanor?
Yeah, the whole
and
thing
it wasn't
is
a
insane.
campaign contribution. They just did all kind of gymnastics to make it happen. And then the third person in line in the Justice Department comes back to New York to oversee this case, and just.
It's just incredibly dangerous. It's incredibly dangerous because
it can also be turned around.
Yes.
And there has to come a point where we go, stop.
Yeah.
We have to stop this or we're losing our country.
Yeah, I think they're more concerned with being in power than they are with preserving the idea of democracy.
I totally agree with that.
And I think some of that was certainly they were emboldened by the fact they're essentially running the country without a president for the last 3 years.
Yes.
Because he's
not
there.
Not there, really.
And since he's decided that he's not going to run again, he's gone. He's vanished.
It makes me, who's running it now?
Exactly.
And
then the crazy thing is Kamala Harris.
Elected, who'll be running then, because I really can't see her being in charge.
No, it's a figurehead. That's all it is. And what's really wild is the Babylon Bee had a hilarious little caption. They said, "When I get in office, I'm going to change things," says the woman who's in office right now. Because she's in office. Yeah. She's talking about fixing all these things. Like, hey,
from
you're
day one,
literally the vice president.
On day one, I'm going to really do something about the border.
But
says
you
the
are
borders are
essentially the president right now.
Yeah.
This is so fucking crazy. You'll be the president for 5 more months.
Yeah.
This is so nuts.
But yeah, she's flipped on everything except for plastic straws. She still wants to get rid of those.
Did you see the thing where Trump came out and said that he was going to stop taxes for tips of hospitality workers, and you wouldn't tax them on tips anymore?
Yeah, that was like a month and a half ago.
Yeah, and then she came out and said she's going to do it.
Right.
And she's going to stop tips. And everybody cheered as if it was her idea. But here's the problem. In 2022, she was one of the deciding votes to go after people that were not reporting their tips.
Was that on the Inflation Reduction Act or the Green New Deal? I think it was one and the same. Right. She was the tiebreaker.
Yeah, exactly.
So they're going to tax the business instead, which in turn taxes the workers that are there.
But it's hilarious that 2 years later she's acting like this is her idea now.
Yeah.
Like, you had a chance. You could have swung it the other way 2 years ago.
Yeah. Could have been right in there.
It's just
or that, she was all the brags that she was the last person in the room when it came to the withdrawal in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And we left $87 billion of military equipment there. We have 13 soldiers that were killed, and there's still people over there in hiding.
Yeah, and also the people that work with us, all the people that work with us, all the translators, all the Afghanis that helped us, they're all fucked.
Well, Trump had all that stuff. He was doing it right. Yeah, he had that that meeting that he had with the Taliban leadership, and where he we're going to leave, but if one soldier's head is touched, we're going to be back, and just to show you how we can do it, here's your address.
They had a photograph of his house.
They gave him to him, and that's when they went, okay. Really, the only thing I liked about Trump was everything that he did. I would cringe at so much stuff that he said.
Right.
But I think his heart was really in the right place. And not only that, we need a really strong leader like that to deal with these assholes that run the third world, the other world. There's some bad actors out there.
Yeah, unquestionably. And the wildest thing is that people are pretending that if he gets into office, he's going to become a dictator, as if he wasn't in office for 4 years and was never a dictator.
Right.
Like, the whole thing is like we're just being gaslit and lied to on a scale that I've never seen in my life, to the point where CNN on television saying that they support the news becomes a huge laugh.
Right.
Or that they just speak the news objectively.
Yeah, and it's incredible. Like I said, the Democrats are really good at doing it because they say it so bold-faced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they have so much money. The thing, have you ever seen the difference between Democrat donors versus Republican donors? Like, there was a chart that someone made about the amount of people that donate to the Democratic Party versus the amount of people that donate to the Republican Party. It's shocking. Big donors.
Big donors is
shocking.
That's where it's completely turned upside down, because it used to be Republicans who were known as the fat cats, and big oil and big business and all that would be the big supporters and donors of the Republicans, and it was like those $5 and $10 donations of the Democratic Party, because they're really a coalition of groups. But then I think starting with Obama, especially, it started with social media. It really started to get into more of a corporate type of tech oligarchy that is
tech
kind
oligarchy.
Of going on.
That's a great way to put it. That's really what it is, right? It's a tech oligarchy. The tech thing's nuts because nobody anticipated that these corporations were going to have this insane amount of influence and power over people. I've had this guy, Robert Epstein, on my podcast before. I don't know if you've ever seen his work, but he basically does a statistical analysis of Google search results and what Google does to change people's opinions and how much of an effect it can have on swaying an election. Because if you go look for Trump rally, you'll see a bunch of Kamala Harris things. If you go to try to find something negative about Kamala, you'll find all these positive things about Kamala. So these quick searches, which most people do. Most people aren't doing deep dives for
Right.
hours where they're going and reading and finding other alternative sources of information. They get their information from a Google search, and that Google search, if you can curate it and make sure that all the positive stuff about the people that you want is up front and all the negative stuff about the people that you don't want is up front, you could shift people's opinions by 20-30%.
Of course you can.
Yeah.
And it's with the algorithms that they have. They already know your preferences and basically who you are to begin with.
Yes.
And they can maneuver that way.
It should be illegal.
It's not just the Russians.
We should have search results. Search results should be completely unbiased. Like that should be a law. Because if you can curate searches, if you can curate people's access to information and hide things, that should be illegal. That there should be nothing that has anything to do with political ideology when it comes to searching for information. It should just be whatever the information is.
I completely agree with you. As well, for one thing, as Ronald Reagan said, democracy can handle it.
Yeah.
And he testified before the House subcommittee back in the day, House of Un-American Activities. And it said basically just let the communists go ahead and state their cause. It's okay to have a communist party in this country because the exchange of ideas and everything will play out and democracy can handle it.
Yeah.
But we're kind of excuse me. We're kind of going through with Reagan right now, the movie. We're going through we're being censorship is happening to us through Facebook. Facebook banned advertising and a lot of the podcasts. This one will probably be banned on Facebook as well. That's over the last couple of months.
Really?
Yeah.
Just because is it a positive film about Reagan? Is that what the idea is that's bothering them?
It's I see it as it's a biopic is really what it is.
Yeah.
It follows him from when he was a boy in Dixon all the way through when he said goodbye to the American people when he was diagnosed for Alzheimer's, after he was president. And it's a fight against communism, which he fought all of his life. But the reason being was that the content in it was an attempt to sway an election. A movie. I mean, the last time I heard, Reagan was on the ballot 40 years ago was the last time.
Do you think if you made a positive Obama movie, it would be to sway an election?
Well, there was an Obama movie that came out during an election year in 2020, and nothing about that. And to me, I mean, just the act of banning or censoring that material, as you were talking about, is an attempt to sway an election.
Yeah.
And Reagan was a Democrat before he was a Republican, by the way.
As was Trump.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Well, that's
Since then, Facebook has said they made a mistake.
Oh.
They said that yesterday because we put out a letter to it in an article on Newsweek, and they said they made a mistake. It was their automatic systems had detected it.
Oh,
Whatever those,
how convenient.
Yeah. I don't know what those automatic systems are, but there was a mistake in that.
Yeah, I don't understand it. Yeah, I don't know what's going on over there, if it's rogue employees. The problem is, like, so many of those people are so ideologically captured. So many of the people that are working for any tech company. They're kids coming out of the universities. They're all left-wing. There's very few right-wing people involved. It's a tiny, tiny percentage.
Right.
And they all feel like it's their duty. They feel like they're activists before they're even anything
to save
else.
America.
Yeah, which is
So
like, from what?
Totally drank the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
If you ask me.
Yeah, it's that's what's unfortunate about the way Trump talks. Because the way Trump talks, it's easy to make him the enemy because he seems like a mean old rich man. You know? And so in their eyes, that's everything that's wrong in the world.
Yes. They'll go after, make fun of you personally or whatever.
Yeah, but he didn't
and talk in those
prosecute
terms.
Hillary.
So you see, he feels like a schoolyard bully
Right,
or whatever.
right.
But he's, with, all the things they did to Trump. I do believe him when he, as far as revenge and all that stuff, that success in the election would be his revenge.
Yeah.
And I really believe that if it was Biden who was, impeached or going to jail or whatever, I think Trump would pardon him. To tell you the truth, I don't think he wants anybody to see a president in jail, because that really changes our country.
Well, he has said that openly about Hillary.
Yeah.
Like when he got into office, there was a lot of people that were pressing him to prosecute her, to go after her.
Yeah.
For the email thing, for a lot of different things. And he said, no, that'd be a terrible look. It'd be terrible for our country. The wife of the former president of the United States, no way.
Yeah.
And he didn't do it. So all these things that people think he's going to do, well, he had the opportunity to do those things 4 years ago. And they're thinking now they've done so many egregious things to him now with all the prosecutions and then the years and years of Russiagate. Every fucking news network saying something. Yeah.
It started at day even before he got into office. They were, but I wasn't going to vote for Trump. This time around, I was wanting them to find another candidate, that would kind of calm things down a bit. That's because I thought that's what we needed. We need to calm things down. But then when they went after him with the judicial system, these like stupid charges.
Yeah.
Yes, but that's when things change for me, because then you're messing with the Constitution.
Right.
And we can't go back from that.
Right.
After something like that happens.
Right.
And so that's why I'm jumping in all for Trump.
And the other thing is, people need to understand that even if you hate Trump, if you normalize weaponizing the judicial system against a political candidate, that can be used against your party too.
Exactly.
And if someone gets in, like if Vivek Ramaswamy gets in, or if Ron DeSantis gets in, and he starts doing the same things that they did to Trump, then we have chaos.
Yeah.
Then we're a fucking
got a banana republic. We're Venezuela,
Exactly.
where you can go down the line on how that works.
Exactly. Yeah, it's terrifying. We're like the last hope for this whole idea of this experiment in self-government.
Ronald Reagan said that these freedoms that we take for granted, they can be lost in a generation. And I always thought, well, that's kind of really high talk and all that stuff, but
it's true.
It's true.
It's true.
And these are the craziest times.
Yeah, the craziest
and fascinating, by the way, that I've ever lived in. It makes the 60s look like a sandbox play.
Yep. Yeah.
Here they did.
Well, it's because tech's involved and AI and deep fakes and just so many shenanigans are going on simultaneously. It's such a bizarre. It's a great time for comedy. There's so much shit to make fun of because it's almost like the things that are real. They're so funny. They write themselves.
Yeah, it's true. You can't make this stuff up.
It's so nuts. The whole thing is so nuts, and the fact that these people are so ideologically captured, they can't recognize the danger of doing the things that they're doing in order to win, and that you can't fix that stuff once you put it in motion. And I just don't. I don't know how this is going to turn out, but I'm glued. Like if this was a show, I'd be like, holy shit, what a great show! Like the writing on this show is fucking incredible.
No kidding.
Yeah.
It's a cliffhanger, that's for sure.
Yeah, the assassination attempt, him going fight, and putting his fist up. Like, what the fuck? Is this real? Like, this is crazy. The whole thing's crazy. And then not a press conference about the shooter.
Yeah,
not
and
a press
that,
conference.
But it's like not a month later. It's how did they do it? Nobody remembers it.
Right. They memory hold it.
Yeah. Memory hold it. It's like as if it never happened.
Well, there was so little reporting on how it happened, how it could have happened, who the shooter was. They get to the kid's house and it's completely scrubbed. He doesn't have any silverware in his home. Like someone was there, and you know
his phone. It takes him a week and a half even to like open it.
Oh, we can't get into his phone.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah, that's
well, how
so
about the
strange. My son, the 17-year-old son, can get into your phone, but they can't get into your phone.
Well, also the fact that this kid, someone from outside the FBI's office in D.C., had been visiting they track the, they have phone, they have ad.
Oh, right.
So they can
They can ping your phone off
right.
that triangulate on the.
So there was a phone
towers,
that was going from outside of D.C. to this kid multiple times. So what's going on? This kid's training for quite a while, for over a year. It seems like he was involved in like shooting training and preparing for. It's like he was being.
He went
groomed.
there at least like 40 times. They said.
I don't know how many times.
Rifle.
It was quite a few.
It was quite a few.
Yeah, but the whole thing is very strange. It's like how is this not like a deep investigation that's on the front page of every newspaper where people are trying to figure out
outrage from
was this a government conspiracy to kill the presidential candidate?
Yeah.
What happened?
Right. Was it?
Right. And
we go back to the Kennedy. No, go ahead.
I thought the moment he got shot and lived and he goes, fight, 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 I'm like, it's over.
Yeah.
He's going to win this.
Yeah, me too.
He's going to win this.
That's it.
Yeah.
Put up his fist like that is like.
And then next thing you know, Kamala Harris has one good speech and everybody's cheering. And you're like, wow. It's just completely flip-flop. All the talk shows, everyone's with her. A person who just a month prior was being hidden because she would say so many dumb things. And she would, and every time she had to talk openly with no script, she would blunder and fuck things up. Now all of a sudden she's the perfect candidate.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild.
It's super wild. They did have and disenfranchised all those voters who had voted for Biden.
Yeah.
If you're talking about democracy.
Right.
And then all of a sudden they have no say about it.
No primary. There's no one else gets to choose. And they use the FEC filing for Biden's money, so like she gets to access that war chest. So the whole thing's crazy. And the fact that no one's freaking out about the dangers of this, and the fact that this is the first time ever that someone who nobody voted for in the primaries, had zero delegates, is now being the person who is at the front.
It was a point ahead in the polls.
Yeah, allegedly. I always say with the polls, like. Says who? Here's the thing about polls. Who the fuck are you asking? And who's talking to you? The people that have the least amount to do, the people that are willing to answer polls, the people that when you call them up say, do you have a few minutes of my time? They're like, well, yes, I do. Most people say, get the fuck out of here, and they hang up the phone. The vast majority of people don't answer polls.
Yeah.
So you have 1 point ahead of the people dumb enough to answer polls. Everybody else, it's like, we don't know. And so that's why the gaslighting continues.
Well, let's put it this way, though. They've done a very good job because they do have the Republicans back on their heels about it.
Oh, and I didn't think it was going to happen.
I didn't think so either. I thought,
leading up to it, I thought he was going to steamroll Biden. The administration has done a terrible job over the last 3 years. The border's wide open. Everyone's freaking out. There's 2 wars going on simultaneously that could lead us into World War III at any moment. Everybody's freaking out. I'm like, when Trump was in office, there was no wars. There was no new wars. There was nothing new that he was doing that was putting people in jeopardy. And then all of a sudden, it was this fucking complete, total turnaround orchestrated by the media, and it happened right in front of our eyes. And now Kamala is this darling of everybody. It's like, this is wild. Like, the least popular vice president of all time is now one of the most popular presidential candidates of all time, like that.
Incredible. And, they're going to, what we're talking about right now, we're going to sound like conspiracy theorists.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm used to that.
Yeah. I'm just getting used to
I'm
it.
super comfortable with it. Super comfortable with it. One of Reagan's greatest phrases, in my opinion, is the 9 most terrifying words. I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
I'm here to help. Yeah.
It's like, it's so true. Like, these people are just like any other person in any position of power. They want to maintain power and they want to make as much money as possible. It's in every corporation. When corporations get in trouble for lying about their products, it's the same thing. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing in every business.
You got a risk management.
Yeah.
They show up at the door and it's amazing how the times today are so much like when Reagan was elected. We had inflation, out the window. We had 20% interest rates. I remember that because I bought a house actually during that time. There was a feeling of malaise in the country that Carter even spoke of. We had hostages in Iran. I mean, we have hostages over there in Israel and the Gaza Strip that nobody's even speaking about. How's that possible?
Right.
Where's the outrage on that? It's so much like that time. And Reagan came along and said, we're going this way, that we're not a nation in decline, like we've been told that we are today. And, America came back from that. I still have really great faith in the American people when it comes down where the rubber meets the road.
I have a great faith in a certain percentage of the American people.
Yeah.
I think there's a certain percentage of the American people.
Those are the people who vote.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
I think there's a certain percentage of the American people that are living in a movie. They have no real understanding of all the mechanisms that are involved that make this world work and why it's working in the way it's working and what the dangers are of it. There's so many people that they're only fed by the mainstream media, which is completely corporate controlled.
Yeah.
They don't know what's going on.
In a soundbite.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Soundbite and headlines.
I've been an independent all my life, really. I voted for Carter. I voted for Reagan twice. I voted for Ross Perot. I voted for Clinton once. I voted for Bush once.
I voted for Ross Perot too.
Yeah, I voted for Obama once, and the second election of that one I sat out because I just didn't have a choice. But I voted for Trump the first time because I went in there and it was Hillary or Trump, and I voted for Trump, and voted for him again. But I've always believed in the pendulum of politics and culture and the world about what is it that we need right now. And in fact, Republicans and Democrats need each other. They keep each other from going too far one way or the other.
Yeah.
And, our nation is based on compromise, which winds up being kind of the best way forward. Not everybody gets what they want, but the important stuff, it shakes out in the end.
Yes.
But that doesn't seem to be the way things are working right now. Or maybe it is in the overall picture, but I just can't see it.
Well, I think what happened was I don't think in 2016 they ever anticipated that Trump was going to win. All the projections were that Hillary was going to win by a landslide.
Yeah.
That was all the polls. That was all the things you saw on television. And then when Trump started winning on television, you could see it in the look of the faces of the pundits, the people that were on TV that were calling the election. They were baffled. Mm-hmm. They couldn't believe it. And then when it was over, there's that famous video of the lady with the sock hat and the glasses in the street on her knees going, no! You see that? When it's announced, Donald Trump's
the glass ceiling still existed. Had not been broken.
Oh, it was crazy times. And then what's really funny is right after that, Jim Brewer had a great joke about this, that there was those those marches, because, Trump had said that grab him by the pussy thing and he's anti-woman. Right. So there's these women marches. And Jim Brewer goes, isn't it funny? They knew what a woman was then.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because that was only 2016.
Yeah.
2016, there was no trans women, this women.
Right.
That kind of conversation was not on the table at all.
The Me Too movement, all of that just completely gone out the window in favor of what, 0.0000 point whatever of the population.
I know, it's nuts. And it's like now women's sports are in peril.
Yeah.
Because now you're having biological men with mental disorders competing as women, saying that they're women winning weightlifting events, women winning cycling
that
events.
Boxer, the Italian boxer the other day, which gets down to be really dangerous. I have nothing against trans people.
The boxer's not trans.
I was in the drama department. I was a drama mama.
Right.
Most of the drama department was gay and stuff. It grew up in that way. I used to play golf with Caitlin.
When it was Caitlin or Bruce?
When he was Bruce. And it would just be us because Sherwood, there weren't many people around. I love the guy. And when he came out like that, I was really happy for him, to tell you the truth, because to have to like carry
Right.
that around
Right.
with what you feel inside, that's really important.
Yeah.
You know, but that doesn't mean that the entire nation has to like flip over and change to accommodate
Right.
that. Yes, there could be I'm all for you, and in fact, our system already accommodates everybody.
Yes.
It does.
Yeah, it does.
But I just don't like being beat over the head and told what to think and what to feel, and to pretend this and pretend that.
No, it's terrible. It's terrible for everybody. And it's just this very loud vocal minority that's very invested in pushing this agenda. And everybody else is just scratching their heads and going, what the fuck? And if you have a daughter that is to do some sort of a sport and there's trans athletes on that team, like, Jesus Christ. Like, this is the reason why Title IX was created in the first place. Like, to give women an opportunity to compete with women.
Exactly.
That's it. You can't say, I feel like a woman, so I'm a woman, and I'm going to compete with women with all the male biological advantages. Like, you want to talk about science denying. There's your science denying.
Right there.
You're denying biological science.
Yeah, a man, just by his body mass, can hit 3 times harder
Yeah.
than a woman.
Well,
In that Olympic match, I mean, the girl stopped after like 45 seconds.
See,
Never
that's a
been hit that
different
hard.
story.
You can
That
kill
person has
somebody
a
that way.
disease. That male boxer who was allegedly male, who's allegedly has XY chromosomes. There's a complicated issue with that. This is like a genetic disorder that this person has, where they have very high testosterone and allegedly have XY chromosome. They should do chromosome. I mean, this is one of the things. Do you know what the enhanced games is?
I think I know what you're getting at.
The enhanced games, they're putting together this new form of athletic competition. It's going to be this enormous event where they're going to let people take performance-enhancing drugs. And so I asked them, I had them on the podcast, I said, what are you going to do about trans athletes? They said, I think we're going to go along chromosomes. So if you have XY chromosome, no matter what, you're competing with other people that have XY chromosomes. Males. People who went through male puberty. That's it. End of discussion.
Yeah.
Now, socially, I'll call you a woman. I'll call you whatever your name you want to be called. I don't care at all. But if you want to compete athletically, we're going to pretend that the shape of the hips, the density of the bones, size of the lungs, size of the heart, the ability to react quicker, all these different advantages that we know exist. This is stupid.
Right.
And this is now you're putting ideology instead of ahead of facts and ahead of science and ahead of the biological reality we know about the advantages that men have.
Yeah, ideology. It's like don't look behind the curtain.
Yes.
It's like Oz, Don't
it's-
look over there.
It's
Don't-
people that don't have religion is what it is.
Yeah.
And they have a new religion, and that religion is this woke ideology.
Yeah.
That is they're acting that way the same way a religious zealot would act.
Yeah. Complete with the doctrine and everything that goes
Yeah.
with it to spout. And there is no argument.
Excommunication, everything.
There is no exchange of ideas.
Right,
within
exactly.
that.
Well, they can't debate because if you debate about it, then the facts outweigh their ideology.
Right.
You look at the biological facts of this stuff, it outweighs the ideology. And then you look at the transitioning children. I mean, have you ever seen these interviews where people go up to people and they say, do you think that a child of 12 years old is old enough to get a tattoo? No. Do you think, they start asking, do you think they're old enough to know their gender? Yes. Yes. Oh, that.
Yeah,
okay.
that.
Puberty blockers are fine. Literal chemical castration drugs that were used on pedophiles in the past. Those are fine.
Yeah.
Those are fine to give to kids that are
without telling
fucking
the
confused.
parents, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole thing is
Parents
bananas.
having no say about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think people, in a way, do know their gender when they're young. In a way, maybe later they look back and realize that they were that way when they were either gay or from a place of hindsight in a way. But to let someone who was under at least 18, really, I mean, even at 18, I didn't, how much do we really know ourselves
Well,
back
how much
then?
are
And
you
then you
easily
can't
influenced?
go back.
Right.
from
and
that.
people are very easily influenced. Very.
Yeah.
And if they're taught by the people around them that they get positive reinforcement if they go in a particular direction, people do that. I mean, how many fucking how many people in Hollywood have trans kids? And how is that possible?
All of a sudden, there's an epidemic of it.
How is that possible?
Yeah.
How is it possible? Is it just the openness that's always been there? Or is it that this is some sort of a fucking mind virus and these people are being influenced by the positive reaction they get from saying that they're LGBTQ2 plus AI, whatever the fuck it is now? It's like there's a social contagion going on, and there's an aspect to that that's real.
Yeah, these are educated people.
Yeah.
We're talking about.
But that's what's nuts, right? But educated people that are not paying attention to this thing called gender dysphoria that has always existed.
How do you think we get back? How do you think we get back to being able to have an exchange of ideas and not just, try to put the other one in jail or try to dismiss them from society?
It sounds ridiculous, but I think the only way is to do what we're doing right now and to continue talking about it as reasonable people and have people listen to it, and it shapes people's opinions of things. They go, yeah, they're making sense. It is reasonable. And to pretend that these psychological conditions, there's a psychological condition called autogynephilia, where men get sexually aroused dressing up as women, but they're usually attracted to women.
Yeah.
So now these men are pretending that they're lesbians. So they're calling themselves lesbians, and they're getting on lesbian apps, and lesbians are fucked now because now there's these men that are pretending to be lesbian that are occupying these lesbian apps.
So they've absconded their agenda.
And if you don't want to date them, then you're transphobic and they'll attack you. And it's like, holy shit.
Wow.
These are the people that were perverts in the past. And now all of a sudden they're a part of a protected class. It's very strange. It's very strange, and it's not good, and it's not sustainable. And I don't know when people are going to fully recognize the harm that they've done to all these children that they've had mastectomies and forced these fucking drugs on that killed their body's ability to produce testosterone, and they try to say that they're reversible. There's no fucking reversing damaging someone's puberty. That's not true. If you put puberty blockers in a boy, that is not reversible. It is not true. Not only is it not true, there is a tremendous amount of evidence that shows that there's significant danger to taking those drugs. There's blood clots and strokes and all sorts of other, and then there's the fact that
It's not natural.
It's not natural. None of it's natural, right? Even injecting them with estrogen, so they can be their true self. If you're your fucking true self, chemicals are not involved. It's not injecting chemicals are not involved in maintaining your true self. That's nonsense.
Yeah.
And it's a crazy sort of a mental leap that you have to make that.
Well, we've got to get back to a place. I mean, I look back at the '60s, and we've always been kind of a nation, at least in this century, of experiments. That go on as as a society as a whole. You had the flower children of back then, and that whole counterculture.
Sure, the Weather
relationship.
Underground, all that
Yeah,
shit.
but back then, you knew who the leaders were. It seems to be leaderless today. You had Abby Hoffman, you had the Black Panthers, we had Malcolm X, you knew who Martin Luther King, you had leaders of all these movements that you could have this dialogue with or this debate with, and now it's who are the leaders of Black Lives Matter? Who are the leaders and spokesmen for this whole trans movement that's going on? And some of it is, it is political. But where are the leaders for that?
Well,
anymore?
I think the leaders are the tech businesses.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. I think the tech businesses have become a de facto form of government.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to me, that the only motivation of that could be control.
100%.
First, to control the bottom line,
Yeah.
of the money, but then the more people that you have kind of acquiesced control over, then the more your bottom line is going to go on, and then it's about power.
Yeah.
And I think we've been shown in this, getting back to what we were talking about before, that really is what is going on, and what was going on in 2020, if you ask me, with the tech companies deciding to, what we were going to see and what we were going to hear, and it pretty much exposed.
Yeah.
And it's dangerous.
It is dangerous, and it's we're not prepared for that influence. We didn't know it was going to exist before. There's no laws in place to keep it in check, which is why Google's allowed to curate the search results, and why they're allowed to censor conservative voices on social media. And in fact, one of the things we found out, like, thank God for Elon Musk, because if Elon Musk had not bought Twitter, we would not have known the extent of the government's meddling into information distribution. We wouldn't have known that they were literally trying to get them to ban legitimate news stories, and they were successful with the Hunter Biden laptop story. But other legitimate conservative perspectives and points of view, and people that were legitimate doctors and scientists that had questions about the way we were handling the pandemic.
Which also turns out to be true.
Yeah, which also 100% turned out to be true.
And then when there is no kind of, okay, we were wrong about this, and this, they just kind of dismiss it.
I got in a conversation with a guy who was like, well, what about you?
These are not ideological issues that you're talking about when it comes to medicine, especially.
Exactly.
But everything gets turned into a political.
That's what's crazy, that vaccines and pharmaceutical drug companies became a democratic liberal perspective, like supporting that. Like these corporations that have the biggest criminal fines in the history of medicine. It's all these companies, these pharmaceutical drug companies, for doing things that were illegal. They were fined billions of dollars. And people still wholesale bought everything they said. And if you disagreed, you were some sort of a fringe conspiracy theorist who was a danger to everyone around you. And
right. I know a little bit about that because from when my twins were overdosed when they were 12 days old with heparin in a hospital. They turned their blood to the consistency of water, and they were off the measurable scale, in fact, for coagulation of their blood for more than 48 hours. And it was the scariest moment of our lives. But really about what I learned about, we did not sue the hospital. It was a human error in that. But it was the drug company also, which was kind of liable in that the 10 milligram unit, the 10-unit bottle that the kids were supposed to get was light blue, and the adult was dark blue, and that was 10,000. So they got 10,000 3 times.
Oh my God!
Yeah, it was horrific. But after that, I testified before Congress in the oversight committee there, about what had happened. And as far as the drug companies, it's impossible to sue the drug companies. Just about. It's very difficult, or to get them to change anything. They're all located, for the most part, in Illinois, and they have that system wrapped up. But it's, everybody at the FDA, I won't say everybody, but there's so many people at the FDA in positions that are either former employees of drug companies or future employees of
Future's
drug
more
companies.
likely, right?
Yeah.
Because they know that there's a golden basket waiting for them at the end of this journey.
So to get any kind of that's wrong in itself, and to get anything real done is clouded, by self-interest.
Yeah.
So what happened, during COVID was. They still these boys that are dropping dead. At 17 of heart attacks, and it's people don't trust their government anymore.
Well,
and that's out there the same it was back in the late 70s before that election. People didn't, since Watergate, hadn't trusted their government.
What's bizarre to me,
really bizarre now,
is that even with all the evidence of these people dropping dead, the people that are around the people dropping dead are in denial about it. Because they all advocated for a very specific thing, and when that very specific thing may be causing a bunch of deaths, they don't want to take credit for it. They don't want to be in trouble for it. They don't want to be beholden to to this idea that they had. The pharmaceutical drug companies were telling you the truth, and that this is the only way out of this. And if you didn't do it, we're all going to die. And everybody went into this with this terrible fear. And because they stated that early, now they're committed to it. and they're defending it because it's a part of themselves. Their ideas are a part of themselves. And so you're seeing like there's if you look at what insurance companies are dealing with now with excess deaths, that's some of the best data that we have. Is excess mortality.
Right.
And the excess mortality is extraordinary. At any other time in history, if there was a thing that was rolled out where all of a sudden everybody's taking it and all of a sudden you have this amazing increase in excess deaths and cancers that are what they're calling turbo cancer. And if you listen to Peter McCullough, he explains how this could be causing that the mRNA vaccines could be causing these turbo cancers.
Because it actually changes our molecular structure down to the chromosomes and the DNA. That it's a man-made thing, which is affecting our body in a bad way.
Yeah, and it's killing people that took it, that were advocating for it, that were tech people. There's tech people that are dropping dead left and right, and they're still on this bandwagon, and they're still letting the CDC saying you should vaccinate anyone under 12. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Right.
What are you talking about? This is insane. It wasn't. It was never dangerous for kids. My kids got it, and they were over it in a couple of days. It was nothing.
Yeah, I got the vaccine twice. I had to when we were doing Reagan. We were shooting the movie, so it was. Still at that point, and it was required in order to work.
Did you have any side effects?
No, but I do know, and I actually got COVID when we were shooting Reagan.
It doesn't
during
stop
the
you from getting
assassination scene, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, no
we were
way.
working in a basement, and we had like 50 extras, and it was just, of course it did. Just about everybody got it, but I had it bad. I was lucky it hit me in the guts instead of the lungs. And I had 104 temperature for a couple of nights, but I was over it in a couple of weeks, and then getting the vaccine, I did have kind of a reaction to that, like a little mini version. But I've noticed that when I get a cold now, it's harder to get over. Everything's a little bit harder to get over now.
Yeah, and
I don't think it's just me. I've friends of. We talk about it, and the same thing is going on. It just, it coming from China and all that. What could have happened could have been an exchange, a real exchange of how it had really happened, and what the process was of how it happened, to make sure that it doesn't happen again, or during the research of the vaccine to put that out. Where it could have helped there as well. It just winds up being, everybody lines up on the side of ideology.
Exactly.
I mean, I wonder, if Trump does come into office, are they going to say, "Oh, I won't take Trump's vaccine again"?
Well, that's how it was.
That's
even
how
Kamala Harris was saying that.
Yeah, she was saying, "I'm not going to take his vaccine when it comes out." Then as soon as they got into office. The very same vaccine, they said, yes, we should take our vaccine.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah.
Very bizarre. That's one of the things that's so interesting, because we have more access to information now than we've ever had in all of human history, and yet people are more divided by ideology than they are by facts than any other time in history.
A lot of it has to do, I think, with cable news too. People have separated themselves. I myself, I watch all of them. On DirecTV, there's Channel 200 where you got like 6 boxes up there. You could watch all the news, and it flipped back and forth, and it's like watching a different story,
right?
A completely different story, depending on where you go. And somewhere in the middle there is the real thing.
One of my favorite moments was when Joy Reid was comparing Biden getting COVID to Trump getting shot.
Yeah.
He got over COVID.
Right. He got over COVID.
No, he got over 2024 COVID, which is basically a fucking cough.
Yeah.
And Trump got shot in the fucking head.
Yeah.
It only grazed his ear, but that was just a miraculous turn of the head at the exact right moment.
Incredible.
Which
You know,
is
it may have been
another thing.
shrapnel, actually, or
Is that what they
maybe
think?
it kicks up and dust up. I don't know. I'm just starting something new.
Well, there's a literal photo of the bullet passing by his head.
Yeah.
You know, so but there were a lot of people that denied that he even got shot. They were saying,
Actually,
"Oh,
there was 3 that came very close to him.
Yes, there was a second one on the
was
left side of
just
his
an
head.
inch away from that
Yeah.
one too.
Yeah.
And man, you know, if his head had blown up there in front of everybody, what
we
would
would
be
have
the
gone into
situation?
Civil War.
Yeah,
Yeah, it could have very well been Civil War.
I'm afraid it could have been.
Yeah, there's
You know-
those Trump people would have fucking loaded up their pickup trucks.
Do you think they would have done a more thorough investigation now? If he
No.
had
No, because listen, this is Lee Harvey Oswald all over again, but less complicated. Or actually more complicated, right? Because this is a very young kid. How did they get to him? We don't know anything about him. We don't know why he was willing to do this. We don't know what we also know he's a registered Republican, which is crazy.
well, you know, one could be swayed from that too.
Sure,
you know?
especially at 20.
Yeah.
You know, like who fucking
About
knows
who is
what
dangerous,
happened?
and they're going
Right.
to have to get another Republican in there. Just but yeah, I've been reading this Unspoken. I've forgotten the author's name, but it was endorsed by RFK Jr. About the assassination of his uncle, the president John Kennedy, and it takes every piece of information that is known and puts it in a book and tells a story from it. And it was our government, I think, that killed Kennedy, and through the CIA, the dark forces within our government. And if that can happen, then how about today? How much?
Of course.
Yeah.
Sure.
Who's running things?
Right.
The only thing you can draw is conclusion you can draw is it's got to be something like that. Only I can't understand why the CIA would want us out of Afghanistan that way, or why all the other stuff is going on. But I guess again, that's for control.
Yeah, it's for control, but it's also so multi-layered and so hard to figure out what's going on. I mean, we know that they had MK Ultra in the 1960s. And they did mind control experiments on people.
Yeah.
And the idea that they just stopped that is silly.
Yeah.
That's silly.
They went further. That's how we got all those other drugs that were turned up at parties, right?
Well, it's part of it. There's what was that? This guy, Norman Ohler, he wrote about drugs during the Third Reich and about how they experimented with LSD on concentration camp prisoners.
Yeah.
And all the stuff that they were giving Hitler, like while he was in the middle, and all the stuff they were giving the Nazis. They were giving the Nazis meth.
Yeah.
They were all on meth.
It was crystal meth, in
Yeah.
fact. That's what they were so fanatical in going out there and staying up for days. I
Yep.
mean, that was essential to the blitzkrieg. Man.
Yes.
You can't stop and take a nap over that.
Yeah,
You gotta
3
keep
days
on rolling down
on
the road
meth.
like a trucker.
Yep, wild, out of their fucking minds. And Norman was explaining that they had different levels of meth that they would give to the people at the front lines. Like the guys that ran the tanks had the most meth. So they
Yeah.
were just jacked out of their fucking minds,
Yeah.
just storming through the night. "Ah!"
Yeah.
And then the French were drinking wine. They're just like hanging out, drinking.
Yeah.
They got like a
little
liter
sleepy.
of wine, 3/4 of a liter
Yeah.
of wine a day
Yeah.
as a ration. So they're drunk in the streets, and then the Nazis come through on meth,
Yeah.
which is a way better drug for war.
Yeah. They just went
Wine
right
is a
past that
terrible drug.
Maginot line like nothing flat.
Fucking nuts,
Really
man.
crazy.
Nuts. 3 days through Poland. The whole thing is insane. But that they took that knowledge from the Nazis and they started applying it. And then they started using some of those drugs and using these MK Ultra experiments. And the idea that they stopped that and they don't do that now. Well, what happened with this kid? Did they do an autopsy? Did they find there's any chemicals in this kid's body? We don't know. We haven't heard a fucking peep. We have not heard a single press conference. The first thing that I would have done, but besides like try to figure out how the fuck this kid was on the roof for 30 minutes without anybody doing anything, how he got a rifle there, how he got a ladder there, how the snipers didn't shoot him, how they didn't go up there and take him out before this happened.
Secret Service was supposed to be in those windows. I mean, they had fantastic look at him.
Yeah.
But they were downstairs drinking coffee or whatever the hell they were doing.
Well, not only that, a lot of those people were Department of Homeland Security.
Yeah.
They weren't even Secret Service
They weren't
agents.
even lined up. And who runs the Department of Homeland Security? Same guy.
The whole thing's
The
nuts.
Mayorkas.
It's nuts because I would have wanted to know what that kid was on. I guarantee there was some sort of psychotropic medicine involved. There's something involved. I do not think if you're going to let's assume that someone trained him, told him how to do this. Let's assume this wasn't a young 20-year-old kid with very sophisticated detonators and remote controls and all these different things that we know that he possessed. Had this rifle, brought the rifle onto the roof. Also, why did he have iron sights? That's baffling to me.
Who was his gun instructor?
There was
teaching him. There were a lot of federal officers over there who went to training. I'm not saying that any of them were like, the ones.
They probably had no
it.
idea what he was going to do. I mean, anybody in this country, we have the Second Amendment. Anyone can go and learn how to shoot a gun.
Yeah.
It's there's courses you can take. I've taken them. You can go and learn how to shoot guns.
Exactly.
But no one's going to think
you
he's
wind
gonna...
up having kind of a mentor with things like that.
Yeah.
It's just like
there's
if you learn how to
probably-
fight box,
Right.
you wind up having somebody who kind of becomes your mentor.
Yes.
And that's how you get kind of indoctrinated into.
Right. Where's that
something.
guy?
Where is that guy?
Yeah.
The kid was really smart. He won all the science fairs, from what I understand. So he was very adept at all that. But it's to get into there's still some stuff supposedly that's encrypted that they can't touch, like with sources over to Europe or whatever what they're saying. And
We don't know.
I don't know what I'm talking about because it's only been inferred. But what are they doing? Why are they
why
not?
is it just inferred?
Why are
Right.
they not still on it like a daily thing
Right.
with like Nightline daily reports about it?
Why didn't they test his blood?
Yeah.
Why didn't they tell us whether or not he was on any kind of medication?
Were there ties to Iran or to China or to Russia or to Venezuela? But
How is it just memory hold?
yeah,
It's crazy.
yeah.
It's crazy. The whole thing's crazy. And then there's like allegations of second gunman, which is always the case with any kind of an assassination.
Yeah, of course.
The thing that would have been horrific if he had successfully shot Trump, if he killed him and then they killed him, that would have been it.
Yeah.
It would have no idea what happened, and they probably would have memory hold it all the exact same way they did it now. And then they would have said the country has to heal and move on.
Right.
And
Yeah. Our long national nightmares
Yeah.
over language like that. What if the kid had just been wounded?
right.
I don't think he would have made it to jail alive.
They weren't going to move. They had a clear shot on that kid.
Yeah.
I'm just amazed that they let him get off those shots. That's just the craziest thing to me, that they knew he was there.
You see him running across the roof while Trump is speaking.
He had a fucking rangefinder.
Yeah, like using golf.
Yeah.
They were quite
like
good.
I use an archery.
Yeah.
He wanted to know what the yardage was so
Yeah.
he could hold for a particular height.
Right.
But I don't understand the iron sights thing. The only thing that makes
What
me...
are iron sights?
Okay, so rifles either have a scope, which is a magnification scope, which is extremely accurate, but you
Yeah.
have to adjust it, or they can have iron sights. And iron sights are like, you have a pistol. And you have a pistol.
Oh yeah,
there's
between
two
the
forks
two,
in the back. Exactly.
Between the two
That's
forks. Those
iron
are called
sights.
iron sights.
Yes.
He did. I thought he did have a scope. He didn't.
I don't
have a
believe he
scope?
did. I don't believe he did. See if that's been proven, because there was a photograph of the gun, and the gun, it looks very clear from the photograph that it does not have a scope on it. Scope is, it's a large tube that sits on the top of the rifle, and you have to adjust
And
that scope.
it takes a little doing to even attach that, does it
Yes.
not? I mean, some can click in, but I would imagine you really have to.
It's not that complicated. You could do it, and then you would need to go to a range and sight it in. The problem with a scope would be that if things were getting jostled around and knocked around, if you bang the scope on something, it can get moved just a fraction of a millimeter to the left or to the right, and then your 0 point at whatever he's got it zeroed at, if it's 100 yards or 150 yards,
It's
whatever
just
it is,
the angle.
it's going to be
as
off.
the angle gets,
Exactly.
The angle, the distance will get
Yes.
further away.
Yes.
So you have to probably redo it.
I've had personal experience with that. I was on a deer hunt. I fell with a rifle, and I fell going up a snowy slope, and the rifle got banged, and my scope was off by like 6 inches at 100 yards.
Yeah.
So I could see how maybe, but that was because my scope wasn't tightened. Somebody had not tightened it down properly. I could see how maybe you would say iron sights because it's not that far of a shot.
Yeah, because I've practiced with the iron sights. I
Right.
know the iron sights. That's not going to be. It's one
Foolproof.
factor you can take out that is not
Right.
going to be a variable. Right?
Exactly. Well, some competition shooters, the old school guys, they don't like red dots because they want to use iron sights because it's so reliable. As long as you can line it up correctly, as long as you have proper technique and you're accustomed to it, it's not going to move. It's not going to go left or right. Whereas,
And you can actually see everything around you
Yes.
even better than looking through a scope.
yeah, but if you're looking through a scope, you get magnification. So
Yeah,
you
of
can put
course.
that crosshair right on
Right
his
on it.
face. And then at 150 yards with a magnification and a scope that's on, that's an easy
That's
shot.
really easy.
It's very easy, especially in a prone position like he was on the top of a roof.
Yeah.
But there's so many questions. How the fuck did they let him do that? How'd they let him get up there? What kind of security breach is involved? And how about the lady who was in charge of Secret Service? She didn't want to step down. Like,
Yeah,
they're
what was
questioning
that?
her. The whole thing.
And I mean, she didn't even go
insane.
to the site. Even a week later, she went to before Congress to explain some things, and she hadn't even been to the site.
Yeah. It's
And
bonkers.
the head agent not being fired. It's like he wasn't available for comment because he's still part of he's still running the investigation. This is the guy who's responsible
Right.
for all this happening, and he's the one that's running the investigation. Are you out of your mind?
The whole thing's crazy. It's crazy, and it's going to be a footnote in history that people are going to be baffled by. Just like they're baffled by the JFK assassination.
Well,
they're gonna be
because he
baffled by
wasn't
this.
killed and his head didn't blow up in front of on national television. It's just that. It's just a footnote. It's not like they got him missed.
Yeah.
That's all I could say.
I know.
They got him missed.
Who knows what would have happened to the country? So there's the gun. So I'm looking at that gun right now, and that gun to me looks like it has iron sights. This is why I say that. You see the handle at the bottom. You see the magazine. So the handle is in the far. That's the magazine where
Yeah.
you're at. The further one forward, and the one behind it. That's the handle, and then you see above. Those are iron sights. So there's no scope on it, unless
So that is
thing.
it's kind of as far as regular sights go. That's those are a little bigger than the regular sighting on a
Right,
on a
because
rifle.
it's an AR. It's an AR rifle.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a red dot. Maybe it's a miniature red dot.
You mean they're in the middle above the magazine?
But it doesn't look like it. It looks like it's not a scope.
Someone on that picture said that the iron sights are set up at a 90-degree angle, so like that it could be shot from prone, so like sideways.
It was
and I can't
amazing.
tell from that.
Well, it's
When
hard. It's
Kennedy
so hard
was
to
shot,
say.
you had the cops like carrying the rifle down the hallway, so
Right.
everybody, the whole public, could
Right.
see it.
Right.
The murder weapon,
Right.
and this is what Americans have gotten used to. They've gotten used to the idea that we're not allowed to see information that we have a right to see
Right.
as a public. This country is supposedly we're the boss, the people are,
Right.
and we deserve information so that we can make a decision about it,
Yeah.
or we can have the people that we've elected make a decision about it by giving them the power to do so, given to them by us.
Right.
And now we get information is either distorted or it's fake or it's just withheld.
Yeah.
And, withheld, and like that's just the way things are. And people have gotten used to that idea.
Yeah.
And that's how we lose our country and our republic.
Right. The republic.
That's how we lose it.
Yeah. See, Google whether or not there's a definitive answer as to whether or not he had iron sights.
I can't. I found Nothing.
That's so crazy that we don't know.
I don't know where to look either, but I didn't find any updates.
Just Google this. Did the Trump shooter have a scope on his rifle?
100% did it. Did Thomas Crook's rifle have a scope?
And what does it say?
There's no. I mean, I have nothing. I would have found the answer and didn't wait.
From people
They
that
always
I've
kind of
talked to-
portray it, in the coverage after it was kind of, at least at first, portrayed as like a rifle with a scope.
Yeah.
In a couple of places. I thought it did have a scope, but
it's possible that it's a very
But
small
maybe it didn't.
miniature scope, but like a red dot, like on a pistol, generally doesn't have magnification. It's
Yeah.
just the dot.
what was he doing with the? Here's another question. Those explosive devices, I think, which were in the car.
Yeah.
What were they for?
Right. And how did he learn how to do that? Like, where do you get those when you're 20 years old? When you're 20 years old, you can't
like
even
I
get...
said, he won science fairs. I think he was, quite adept at getting that info.
Well, wouldn't we know that this kid had Google searched how to use explosive devices and figured out how to get the detonators?
Yeah.
And figured out how to wire
Sure.
it, how he learned. We don't know anything.
Sure.
We don't know anything about this
fertilizer
kid.
bomb and all that. So,
Yeah.
but what
Right.
were they for?
Right. What were they
He
for?
had to have an intent
Right.
for that.
Right.
And you can figure it out, even though he's not here. You could figure out an intent. Certainly wasn't to get away. Otherwise, he would have had him on him.
Right. Do you think he thought he was going to survive? I mean, was it a suicide run for this kid? That's why I want to know what drugs was he on. We don't have any toxicology report on this kid,
Right.
which is crazy.
That is crazy.
They have it for every school shooter.
Yeah, the people are entitled to know the toxicology report. Jim Belushi died,
Right.
and they told everybody his toxicology report.
Right.
Within 3 weeks for
Well,
it
it's
to
because
come
he died
back.
of it, right? He died
but
of
still,
an overdose.
I'm talking about the right to privacy versus the public's right to know.
Yeah. Well, in this particular situation, the right to know is imperative.
Yeah.
Like you have to. Is there something that was given to this kid that made him do something that insane? Because there are things that they can give you that will completely distort your understanding of reality, and which is why they gave the Nazis meth.
Yeah.
This is the whole reason for it, because you would do wild shit when you're hopped up on amphetamines.
Yeah, you can give somebody Klonopin and start this anxiety, and you don't know whether you could make one decision 1 minute and angst about it the next.
Right.
And be very influenced.
Right.
There's
Also, the idea that we know all the psychotropic drugs that the government is experimenting on, that's ridiculous, too.
well,
I guarantee
I
you.
experimented with them a couple of
What would you
not
think?
all of them. No, since 1990, they got some stuff coming out now. From what I hear.
Well, you got off the cocaine train at the exact
Yeah.
right time, because now it's you're
Who knows what
literally
it is?
rolling the dice with fentanyl.
Yeah, fentanyl. But it hasn't always been like this. The way you and I are talking, and it's been a very, very long time since it seems that common sense prevailed in the end in this country, and I so want it back. For not just, and I'm not even talking about having everything go the way I want it to go. It's to get back to a time when whoever was in the White House and at least we were a people that could at least agree 70% of the time. And I think we are a people that agree 70% of the time as a whole. But that's impossible now.
Right. We're being manipulated too much. And most people are just not savvy enough to understand the effect of this manipulation, which is, I think that's a big factor we're experiencing. There's just a lot of people that aren't even aware of all the things that we're talking about. There's a lot of people out there that think, oh, Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone. Lone gunman, crazy guy.
Well, I thought that for a very long time myself.
Really?
Yeah. After about 12, 15 years. It started to sound like conspiracy theories to me and stuff. And then I completely switched over again because of evidence, really, that's coming out. And I really want to see the rest of the files. And why are they not releasing the files? I know Trump released a bunch of them, but I guess there's people living that.
Well, there's also the complete erosion of faith in the intelligence agencies. If it turns out that the CIA did kill JFK or that they were involved in the killing of JFK and it could be proven, which is what Tucker Carlson's been saying. If that is the truth, that would be it would throw the whole country into a tailspin. We wouldn't know what the fuck to do. Because if you really found out that in 1963 they organized an assassination on the president, pulled it off, killed him, lied to the public, published this bullshit Warren Commission report, tried to pass off this nonsense of the magic bullet, all of that stuff. All that stuff.
John Foster Dulles, who ran the CIA, they just pulled off one a month before with Diem in South Vietnam, where he was assassinated, and Kennedy was shot, and then the Warren report. He was the head of the CIA, was the head of the
Dulles, Alan Dulles.
Alan Dulles of the. I said John Foster. Alan Dulles was the head of the Warren Commission,
which is nuts because Kennedy had fired him.
Yeah,
which
had
is even
fired
crazier.
him because he was doing things behind his back.
And so then that guy becomes the head of the Warren Commission report. And then Gerald Ford, also on the Warren Commission report, then takes over when Nixon gets kicked out of office.
Right.
And then you find out Tucker Carlson explained it to us that the whole Nixon thing was essentially an FBI, CIA op to get Nixon out of office. And Nixon was apparently very interested in finding out who had shot JFK.
Yeah,
so then they labeled
and also
Nixon.
the Vietnam War that was going on. The CIA was in fact, that's kind of where it started, along with the Bay of Pigs, which Kennedy inherited. That was an operation going on. But the Cuban Missile Crisis was another one. So Kennedy having actually a secret dialogue with Khrushchev that was going on that I guess today they would call collusion. I don't know. But they were making great progress in that. But Vietnam, he had gotten the Russians to agree to make Laos a neutral country in that. And there were we had American GIs, even before it was an actual war, which it never was, but getting killed over there. And Kennedy was wanting to do the same thing with Vietnam, have it be a neutral country, and was making progress with Khrushchev in a way towards that. But the CIA's involvement over there, they openly and with the Joint Chiefs and in meetings, Kennedy had lost control of the Joint Chiefs and decisions that were being made there. They were totally going against him, and I believe too that it was the CIA that took him out because of their agenda and the mood that was in the country.
It's crazy. The whole thing's crazy. It's crazy to look back on it and think about it. And even the fact that we know now for a fact that the Gulf of Tonkin incident was a false flag.
Yeah.
Which is what got us into Vietnam in the first place. And that no one went to jail for that.
Yeah, and when Johnson came in, I don't think Johnson was involved in the assassination of Kennedy, but when Johnson did come in, he had a different kind of bend on that and said, you guys will get your war right after, the election, is what he told the Joint Chiefs, because they really wanted it. And, lo and behold, after he was elected, the Gulf of Tonkin incident happens. And away you go.
Way you go. Yeah, it's wild. And then we're dealing with a more sophisticated, much better concealed version of that apparatus right now.
Yes, that's what this book really got me to thinking. Okay, if all this was going on then, how much more sophisticated is it now?
Right.
And especially after 9/11, when we just handed them the keys to be able.
Yeah.
The CIA was created by Truman. They haven't just been around. It was created by Truman, and they were supposed to be. Do you act as as foreign agents in other countries, and they were basically given, like James Bond, license to kill and do what. Also, the license to lie before Congress. They were given to keep things secret as they could, and Truman came to not even a year after he had created it, came to regret it that he'd even created that office because of. It turns into a government within a government that is, deciding that has its fingers in every pie, especially, the military.
Yeah.
And it's a dangerous place. Kennedy himself was, wanted to get rid of the CIA, in fact. And so later, after 9/11, we just really gave them the keys to the kingdom because they were, you're allowed in the homeland to do the same thing.
And then the Patriot Act and NDAA, all those different things that gave them the ability to spy on people. And then what we found from Edward Snowden about the NSA and all of it. It's just wild stuff, man. And most people aren't even aware of it. That's what's really crazy.
Go to what we were told about with Iraq before we went in there and the weapons of mass destruction and the like, which everybody believed, no matter what side you were on.
Right.
So
it's pretty crazy. And it's literally what Truman was warning everybody about when he left office.
Yeah.
That famous speech about the military-industrial complex.
Well, that was Eisenhower.
I'm sorry.
Eisenhower came in and gave that same speech and had a meeting with Kennedy about the beware the military-industrial establishment.
And especially Eisenhower because he was such a respected person. So for him to say that. But it was one of those things that you say it on television, people hear it, and then you never saw it again because it wasn't the time where there was the internet. There was no one watching that clip on YouTube saying, what the fuck is he saying?
Yeah, what was he talking about?
Exactly.
Yeah, well, Kennedy's speech at the American University, which was about peace and about this, the Soviet Union and the United States, learning to live together. In fact, the Test Ban Treaty came out of that, which was hardly covered in the news actually back then, because everybody was so pro-war. I mean, I grew up, we were getting under our school desk, like at least once every 2 weeks in case of a nuclear war. It was going to happen. I lived within the circle of zone in Houston there that the Cubans were going to send the missiles. I got kept home from school. It was happening. We lived with that until Reagan, the Pope, and Lech Walesa, along with Margaret Thatcher, ended the Cold War.
Yeah,
and it's. But I digress.
I remember those days. I remember those days in school where they would make you do drills and they would play videos showing you how to get under your desk. As if that's going to protect you from a fucking nuclear bomb.
Yeah.
A desk?
Yeah. That's...
We were terrified. Like, we grew up with an existential fear of a nuclear war with Russia.
Yeah, and it was real. There was about a 90% chance that it was going to happen. Especially during the 60s, and then again with during the Carter administration and into Reagan, because we'd appeased them, we'd given away so much, and they were building their military up, and it really was like a chess game. But there was a hawk that pro-war that survivability after a nuclear attack was a big topic.
Sure, that's Dr. Strangelove.
Yeah, like Curtis LeMay, one of the Joint Chiefs, who was a big admiral during World War II and ran the Pacific campaign, basically. But he was saying, well, we could survive this. 50 million people, yes, would be killed, but we will survive. Survive to what? Right. That was the mentality.
Isn't that crazy?
That's how much they wanted to defeat communism.
Right. And it's literally a comedy. In Dr. Strangelove, him explaining that is literally a comedy because people are like, what?
Yeah.
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 I encourage anybody to watch that movie.
Fluoridation Mandrake.
Yeah. It's crazy. They were like, well, we might lose 50 million people. We'll be okay. We'll still have 100.
Yeah.
We might lose a third of the country because back then that was probably the population, right? It was probably 150 million.
It was about 150 million back then.
Yeah.
So a third would be gone.
No big
Plus
deal.
Strange Love. It's such a great movie to still watch.
Yeah.
You know, they had the tunnels they had built ahead of time.
Yep.
And I think it was like 8 females to one male. They were
so we can continue to make babies.
Yeah.
Repopulate
So we can
the earth.
repopulate very quickly.
What the fuck? Or how about no war, guys? How about that?
How about
Is that
that?
possible? Is it possible to just fucking make friends with everybody?
Yeah.
Jesus
How about
Christ,
that?
can't we all get along? It's a big-ass world.
Yeah.
Is there a way to do this without killing hundreds of millions of people, you fucking idiots?
Yeah, Rodney King, actually, he was right. Can't we all just get
Yeah.
along? Because that's the first
Yeah.
thing that comes up in my mind these days.
Yeah. Can't we all just get along?
Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that nuts? Rodney King, voice of reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Voice of reason.
And Ronald Reagan.
Well, yeah.
Ronald Reagan,
was-
if you listen to his speeches today, he's incredibly reasonable. I mean, we were told, like, I grew up in a very liberal household, and Reagan was the bad guy. Like, everybody hated Reagan, trickle-down economics. It's bad for the country. It's a bunch of greedy people. He's letting-
Warmonger.
Yeah, letting them control the country. You listen to him talk now. You know, one of the great speeches he gave in front of the UN, it really got all the crazy UFO conspiracy theories. Those guys went nuts because he said how quickly we would put aside our differences if we were faced from an alien threat from outside this world. It's a great perspective because it's so true.
It's so true. We come together like that.
Yeah, and we should be a community on a planet, and it is possible in an alternative universe with different circumstances that we could have evolved into a community. And it's possible, I think, in the future if big tech and these ideologies don't get a hold of us and we can communicate as individuals and realize that most of our differences are bullshit, and most of what's going on is the battle of control over resources. And if instead human beings had the ability to communicate with each other and have real, true access to information and know exactly what's going on and be able to relay what their concerns and needs are, most people just want to be happy.
Instead of keeping secrets.
Yes.
You know,
exactly.
it's the keeping of secrets, you know, from
Yes.
them. It's us
Yes.
and them. I mean, Kennedy himself he wanted for the Russians the Soviets to join our space program and do a joint venture to send a man to the moon. That's where he'd come to. This was during the test ban treaty, because you know it's the rocket secrets and all the rest of that stuff. But can you imagine putting their minds and our minds together?
Yeah.
And doing this as a joint venture, there would have to be relinquishing of secrets because it's military.
Right.
That's why, of course, they wouldn't allow that to happen.
Right.
But once you start doing that and having that shared technology without keeping secrets from each other, that's where people and nations do come together.
Right.
Because we don't mistrust each other because we're armed. We're armed because we mistrust each other.
Right. Right.
And that's what Reagan said to Gorbachev in Vienna, which got the conversation going.
Yeah.
And
well, now there's the same conversations going on right now with AI, because AI weaponry and the ability to have weapons that don't rely at all on human interaction. No people making decisions or pressing buttons, completely powered by AI.
Yeah.
If that happens, this is a very, very dangerous situation.
Again,
It's gonna
Dr. Strangelove down there.
no
Doomsday
morals,
machine.
no ethics.
Yeah.
And this mad race is, again, this is the height of tech, right? Because you have tech people that are communicating about things to Congress where the people that are asking the questions really have no understanding of what these guys are doing or what's really possible and what's capable. And
Yeah.
there's there's problems because they lose information. Like information gets stolen, and they're dealing with that right now. They think that China has access to the top level AI that we're producing right now.
Right.
There's
And
a
then
real concern
where
about
do those,
that.
And where do those attacks really come from? Sometimes you even concerned about that. Is it Korea? Is it China or whatever?
Right.
Because you can mask all that. But yeah, AI is it does scare me. But then it's called progress, and there is no going back from progress.
No, it's what we do.
We just got to keep up.
Yeah.
We really got to keep up now.
How do you keep up with that, though? That's the question.
Everything happened so much faster that they had a kind of a running start with nuclear bombs, and that because it took a while to develop over time, and now things come along so quickly, and the more we know, the more we can know, and it's a scary world.
So is the reluctance that people have to allow, like, the resistance against this Reagan film, do you think it's just a resistance about conservatism in general, or is it the idea that you're going to change people's perceptions about history? Because there's a lot of people, again, that have this very peripheral, low information view of who Reagan was. And so they want to have this negative spin on Reagan in history because he's a conservative.
I think, Reagan was a great president, and I think it gets perceived and compared to Trump, because there are comparisons to Trump and the things that if you get down to policy, there's a really good comparison to Trump, and maybe they see this as influencing an election by that comparison or whatever. But it's a free society here. It's about ideas we're able to express, and we're able to make up your own mind about it rather than deciding for people about what it was. And the Reagan movie it's not about ideology at all. I mean, Reagan was a Democrat for 40 years until the last 40 years of his life, or 35, he was a Republican. And it's about the Cold War and about his fight against communism. And, we won the Cold War under Reagan. And it was before that, appeasement had been practiced in this country. Jimmy Carter, God bless him, he did really well with the Egyptians and Israel in making peace in the Middle East. It was great about that. He wasn't so great with the Iran hostage thing. You remember the foiled, disastrous rescue attempt. Back then it seemed like everything failed. And but with the Soviets, he'd appeased it, like, gave away the B-1 bomber. He gave away a lot of things without getting anything in return from the Soviets as far as reducing the threat of war. And they took that, of course, as weakness and started to really build up their military and their missile strength to an unprecedented level. Americans were... There's a lot about Americans that it's kind of sweet in a way, and that the kumbaya thing. Why can't we be friends and just that humanity? But that's the good-hearted, fantastic thing about America. But that's not the way the world works. We're all a product of the way that we grew up. We've basically grown up in this country with relative safety, and we have. A nation that has had laws that, form of law, and you do things the right way and the wrong way, or what you consider. But, can you imagine what it was like for Saddam to grow up in Iraq, or Xi, or Putin, and the way they grew up? That makes them the way they are, and the Russian people had grown up the same way. So you start to get a sense of how the rest of the world doesn't operate on the same rules that we are.
Right.
They actually have a more realistic way of looking at things, the way man has actually been from the tribal stage on. You know, you got the water and we want the water.
Right.
We don't want to share it. We want it ours.
Right.
Because you'll piss in it and it'll destroy it. So we want it for ourselves. But Reagan came along, and he had the idea to bankrupt them, to make them spend. Star Wars. He came out with Star Wars. He really got that name from the movie. The whole Star Wars thing, which is now the Patriot defense system, over in Israel. It didn't exist at that time. It was decades away from it. But he made the Russians think, at least 10%, that it might be real. Reagan even offered to share it with them, in exchange for let's take our missiles down to zero. And I got mad at him in Iceland when I thought he was acting like an old codger, because they came up and said, we're offering you this, half the missiles or this or that. And he said no, because they wanted us to get rid of Star Wars, which didn't exist. And he said, well, you have to get rid of Star Wars. And if we'd done that, the Soviets would have just gone on their merry way and been doing what they would have had been doing. But Reagan said no. And the Soviet Union came toppling down, but it was great progress that he made. And it took a Cold Warrior, hard-assed Cold Warrior, to be able to negotiate with them. And that's what we don't have today.
Right. Yeah. Did you? How much research did you have to do on Reagan before you did this film? Did you do a deep dive?
Yeah. Well, for one thing, I lived through it. I remember every single thing, because even back then I was a big news wonk. Even though I had 3 channels, three news channels, and also when I was offered the part, he was my favorite president. Okay, and I didn't say yes, but I didn't say no. He's like Muhammad Ali. He's known, all over the world. People know what he looks like, sounds like, and the like. And I didn't want to do an impersonation like Saturday Night Live, because when I play a real person, I want to play it from their point of view. And sometimes that means warts and all. What are not just like what you did, but what are your insecurities? What do you really care about? How'd you feel when you got jilted? Or whatever that make us up who we are in the end. Yeah, and it took me a long time to say yes, but I got invited to the Reagan Ranch, which was the Western White House back then. And when Reagan died, some friends bought it and left it exactly as it is. He and Nancy's clothes are in the closet.
Whoa.
Yeah. You expect them to come back. They didn't change a thing. And the only guy that was up there was John Bartlett, who was Reagan's Secret Service guy he rode horses with every day. So, but it go up 5 miles of the worst road in California, and get to the top of the mountain, come through the gate, and I could feel him. I could just feel him in every square inch of that place, and I could feel he was a humble guy. His library, with every book, is at a big bookcase, with every book going back to like 9 years old. The printer of Udell is there, and they had a king-size bed, but it was 2 single beds zip tied together.
Huh.
The house is 1,100 square feet, maybe 2 rooms of this, and very simple. And this is the Western White House. All the appliances are GE, because he was a spokesman for GE back then, and he bought that place after he was governor. But either he didn't have much money or he was really cheap. But
or he wanted to live simple.
Yeah, he knew how to live simply. It was this person, and I felt him. And then in the research, he was an actor, and he had we both have sunny dispositions too, I think, naturally. But I don't think, one of the things about Reagan is I don't think he ever got to where he wanted to get as an actor. I think was one of the disappointments for him. And, his career was going towards the end when he married Jane Wyman, who was, who won an Academy Award like the next year. And I think his self-esteem was actually pretty low at that point because he was looking for a purpose in his life that he never found until he got he ran for and was elected vice president of the Screen Actors Guild and then president of the Screen Actors Guild. And that's not a job that anybody, as an actor, you aspire to be, right?
Right.
But it's like when God shuts a door, he opens a window somewhere. And this was his entry into politics. And, that's where that road started. And at the time that he was president, the Soviet Union, they found the files after they fell, by the way, in the Soviet Union. They were trying to infiltrate the media, of course, into movies and through the unions for control of that. And that was his in earnest. There were fistfights in union halls over it that he was involved in. And he did a lot of great things. The reason we actors have great health insurance is because of Ronald Reagan, by the way.
Really?
Yeah.
No kidding.
He was, in fact, that happened in, I think it was 60 or 61, and he wasn't even president of the Screen Actors Guild then. He had been, I think, like 6 years later, his term had run out, but he came back and got that ramp through because that was the right thing to do. That was when he was a Democrat.
Wow.
Yeah. He got us, we have the best health insurance of any union I can think of. And that was because of Ronald Reagan.
That's wild.
Yeah.
The whole film industry is in deep trouble with AI. That's going to be a real problem. Mm-hmm. That's going to decimate jobs.
Or it could be a future source of revenue for my kids and grandkids. And after that, well, if they want Dennis Quaid to do a movie, they could just create me.
That's true. That is true. Well, didn't Bruce Willis sign off on something like that? I think he signed off on allowing them to use it because Bruce obviously has that horrible condition, aphasia.
Yeah.
And he can't act anymore. And I think he signed off on digital rights for something, some limited aspect of that.
Mm-hmm. I was, what is the name of that? The boy band thing. That's a dirty. It's a documentary about the guy Peterson, I think, is that started the boy bands. In sync and they had a documentary on him.
No, Bruce Willis didn't sell his likeness to a deep fake company.
That's a deep fake.
Despite initial reports. So what did he do?
He was they did something like that, but like the company didn't own his likeness or anything. Like he did a commercial or something where they used his likeness.
So he only signed off on this one thing?
Yeah.
Oh, so they're saying that he signed up. Yeah. Interesting.
Well, anyway, in this documentary, they take this guy and they take old footage of him and they put other words in his mouth talking to the camera. And you believe it. It's seamless.
Right.
You can't. It is scary in that way. It's also can be used for great things, as well. We can, for computing ability, that would take years and years, to take a couple of minutes. Or if you're making a movie and you can go out in an empty stadium and just create a crowd that doesn't look like cutout pictures.
Yeah.
Which was, I think, of course, it takes away extras, ability to earn a living, but it also means that you can make a $4 billion movie instead of a $40 billion movie,
right.
And get smaller movies and more people have access to making movies.
That's true.
So,
That's one way of looking at it.
So it's...
Also, it might eliminate actors. That's possible too.
Well, that wouldn't be such a bad idea. As long as I can
now that you're kind of fully established.
As long as I can play golf and somebody else comes to the set digitally, okay.
Do you think that? Do you think that expressing your conservative viewpoints and doing this film on Reagan, do you think this ultimately has the potential to hurt your career?
I don't care anymore. There was time that I was kind of concerned to kind of like speak my mind or speak up, but in the last couple of years, that I feel it's really important that we do, all of us, speak up. In this election, everybody's got to choose a side, and we have to, in order to have this exchange of ideas and dialogue, we have to speak up. And so, like I said, they when I was doing Reagan, there was a story that came out that I was taking money from the CDC, $400,000, the Trump administration had arranged so I could do a commercial on for the vaccine that was coming out, but none of which was true. But, it's like my son even called me like freaking out, because it was just like I was going to get canceled over this stuff because I was taking, I guess, taxpayer money from the CDC, making money off this. But none of it was true.
Where did it come from? Did they find the source?
I really have no idea. It's something that circulated in social media. So I really don't know. But that, and I remember when when COVID first started, I think it was Politico that I did a phone conversation with, because I was involved with this podcast company that we were promoting, and it was, just happened to be at COVID, and the guy asked me what I thought about the way Trump was handling the COVID, and I said, well, at least he's there every day. He's there every day trying to do something, and I think when it comes to things like this, we need to get behind our president as a whole, to come together to fight this thing, just like Franklin Roosevelt getting behind, during World War, at the start of World War II, in order to. Well, anyway, that became that I was a, right-wing Trumpster, and that supposedly in danger of getting canceled over that, and then I also gave a speech about Reagan to the group in Florida after we'd made the movie, and I think there were two people that were January 6th. People just happened to be there. And by association, that was going to be, my agents called me like freaking out over that. They were like it was going to be canceled. They're just like being told to, just be quiet and let things go by, and no, I just can't. I'm not a very good rule follower to begin with, It's just it's one of those faults I've had. But
good for you.
Yeah, but.
I think that kind of makes you a good actor too.
Well,
it's a rebellious nature.
Yeah, well, maybe that's debatable, but it's there's a lot of rebellious people I know who are really bad actors. But
touche. Yeah, there's a lot of that. Yeah.
But I don't know. I think we all have kind of a obligation, you want to call it, or a duty, or whatever. Yeah. We're citizens of America. We're citizens of the United States. The country is ours. It's the people of the United States who are supposed to run things.
Right.
And so we have to speak out. I hated when actors spoke out about politics. I remember the days like Richard Dreyfuss or whoever would, talk shows, and it always just sounded like so stupid because, of course, they didn't know anything. But So what little I know, I do have to speak out about. And I'm sorry, Richard, for saying that about you. But 'cause
He's very vocal now.
yeah, he always has been. But I just, if they have the right to go on TV and talk about how, I've seen several actors go on there and talk about how Biden is like, I saw him, he was in great shape. And well, then I have the right to go on and talk about that I'm voting for Trump because, people might call him an asshole, but he's my asshole.
Yeah. Well, we don't have the best choices today. And it's interesting that we put so much weight on famous people. We put so much weight on their opinion and perspectives on things. We want a guy like George Clooney to be out there endorsing Kamala Harris and talking about the threat to democracy that is Donald Trump and all that.
Right.
We look
because he does it so well in the movies. You notice Tom Hanks has been very silent.
Yeah.
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 And just, I don't blame him. It's we do. I also think that presidents are a reflection of who we are as a people and what our culture has become. You can go back like Reagan reflected his times. He probably couldn't. He probably couldn't get elected today because he'd come off like Kemp. They're just kind of solid. But along comes Trump. Trump swears. It's okay. Over time to say shit, fuck, piss, whatever you want on TV. Before that with cable news, and so. Now you can say it, but it took somebody like Trump to actually say it.
Yeah, he was really the first one that opened up that door.
Yeah,
Remember that speech that he gave about how you deal with China? You don't say we're going to tax you 20%, and you say, "Listen, motherfuckers."
Yeah,
and everybody's like, "Whoa!" Yeah, I loved it. I was like,
me
right,
too."
It's
like finally plain speaking, just like you said it before,
like an actual human being.
Yeah,
because that's how actual human beings talk about something.
Respond. That's what the emotions it brings up in you.
Yeah,
and that's what you feel. I mean, I guess Obama was the first one to really truly use social media. In a way because he understood it, and so did Trump. I mean, he was tweeting. It's probably why the polls didn't really reflect what was going on because people were just reading his tweets.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the tweets are so ridiculous. He can't help himself.
Yeah.
He's got to insult people and go after people, and that's how he made his career. I mean, that was him.
Yeah.
In the
starting
public
with
eye.
Rosie O'Donnell.
Yeah,
I remember in that feud that got him. That was like so ridiculous back then.
Leave that poor lady alone.
I do cringe sometimes at stuff, but I know where he is at the bottom of it, that he really does care about the American people and he really loves this country, and he's really smart, and he knows how to deal with foreign policy wise. Which is a huge thing with me, because it has an effect on everything else in our culture, our economy, just the way we feel inside.
Yeah,
and I think he's best for that. I just hope I'd like to see him focus more on the issues.
Yes,
and be very disciplined about doing that, because when he goes off that. They love that.
Yeah.
Any chance that they can make it personal, they love that.
I also think that he gets sucked into some things that I think are traps. I think one of the traps that's been set recently is the use of computer-generated imagery with Kamala Harris's campaign. I think he got sucked into a trap because
How is that?
Because he made a post about how the crowds that were at the airport to meet her were fake, and that it was CGI.
Right.
And a lot of people thought that they were CGI, and there was a lot of people tweeting about it that it was CGI. And I was looking at it, I was like, this is interesting because it's so obvious. Why would they do that? Well, one of the ways they would do that is to put out fake images or put out the idea that they were fake images so that he makes this post.
He would bite on it.
He bites on it.
Yeah.
And then they go, actually, there's video
and
of
then
it.
they can go back and really
CNN
video in the
reporters
crowds
were
and all that
there.
and prove that it was
Exactly.
Because they've been so used to like Biden doing a rally and you never see the size of the crowd and you can feel that there's nobody there and because there's tepid applause, and you hear
also,
individual hands
hire
clapping.
people to go to those things.
Yeah.
It's not difficult to hire a crowd. You can get a crowd to go to a comedy show if you wanted to.
Yeah.
You can get a crowd to do almost any. Also, they did this very wise thing, the Harris campaign, where they would have famous singers. They would have famous singers and entertainers perform there, and then she would be there as well. So people would essentially get a free concert.
Basically at a concert.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not hard to get.
Not hard to do.
Especially if you have a big urban environment.
Yeah.
You want to get 10,000 people to go to a place. Not that hard.
And granted, you know what? It did energize the Democrats when Joe stepped down.
Oh, yeah.
Because there was...
They knew they were fucked if you stayed in there.
they knew it. And
every time we talked, it was getting worse.
It was a ray of hope, and somebody young, and so all the people that they got volunteers, and they're going all in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Supposedly, unless they really abscond the Republican agenda, which it seems like she's trying to do. That's Clinton did that actually in '94. He was going to be a lame duck president. He was going down, and his response was in the State of the Union address. He said the age of welfare is over, and he basically took over the Republican agenda, and we had like 6 years of just incredible. The economy was amazing. It was a force, and she started with Kamala now is taking over the whole no tax on tips.
Yeah,
trying to take that over, trying to say that she's never was the border czar and that from day one she's going to do something about it. I think there's 4 or 5 months left in the administration right now. Why don't you do something about
also
it now?
Also, the denying she was the border czar when there's hundreds of people talking on television calling her the border czar.
Oh yeah,
it's nuts.
Yeah,
that's the
including
craziest
Joe
gaslight.
Biden himself.
Yeah,
said border czar.
Yeah, they said it on CNN,
czar.
and then CNN later saying she was never the border czar.
Yeah.
Oh, she wasn't.
Yeah.
Well, why'd you say it back then? You guys are misinformation.
Yeah. So, she did go to the border. She went to the border of Nicaragua and then the bordering country or whatever. Talking about the root cause and all that stuff. Well, yeah, the root cause. It
seems very coordinated, doesn't it? The border thing.
Yeah.
That one I really want to know. Like, what are they trying to do? What's the end goal here?
I mean, it seemed the obvious thing would be for the old idea that's for voters, that people coming into this country are naturally Democrats, but that's not really true. I have so many Latino friends, and the people that came here the right way, they can't stand what's going on because they really can't, and they have a tendency to really kind of, as you get families and church and stuff, to be become conservative and believe in the American dream, and that's not true. I mean, the only other thing would be the power, I guess, and you create definitely have less Republican votes, I guess they think, with that, and you create chaos, which is kind of another kind of Soviet tactic that if you want to foment revolution, that's what you do, create chaos.
Yeah.
So, that's really get into a conspiracy theory for that, but I don't see the sense of it. And then I have people like my housekeeper, Josie, who was over here illegally for so long in her life. And finally I said, in fact, when Trump was going to get elected in 2016, she was like really, really afraid. And I said, you know what? We have to do this the right way. I'm going to apply for citizenship, and I'm going to sponsor you. And so we started the process then. Got her green card and everything to it, and she went through her citizenship test with me, which she was doing. She's failed twice, but I went through the citizenship test with her. She got everything perfect, but she goes over there and she gets treated like dirt.
Right.
Really.
Which is crazy that people trying to do it the right way get treated like shit.
Yeah, and she gets treated like she's doing something wrong or whatever. And I know she can pass it because I went through the whole thing with her randomly. And yet, if you come into this country illegally, they're going to pay for your hotel. They're going to give you $1,000 to spend. They're going to
That's so insane.
Flee. What state do you want to go to?
Yeah.
And we don't get those rights.
Well, it's just insane when we have so many poor people in this country that are U.S. citizens that aren't being taken care of, and you're just letting people come here. Veterans. Letting people come here illegally and giving them all this money. Like, what's the end game?
Yeah. What is the end game?
And also,
because
Kamala
even
Harris
the mayor of New York is complaining about it.
Yeah. Well, he fucked up.
Yeah.
He called it a sanctuary city. We welcome anybody. And they're like, great.
Yeah.
Come on down.
Yeah.
Well, also, Kamala Harris has said that terrorists aren't coming in through the border. That's not true. They've arrested terrorists coming through the border.
That's been going on for a very long time. Yeah. I mean, even back to the Bush administration, where they would send floods of kids. The cartel would come down to, people way down in Mexico said, we're taking your kids, and that's it. And couldn't say a single thing about it. The cartel runs Mexico, I believe. That's a fact. And just bringing them to the border and sending in a flood of kids or whoever across the border and embedded in that are terrorists. You send in 1,000 with 4 terrorists in it, the odds are a lot better of getting in here.
Yeah.
And that's been going on for a very long time.
But it's just never been as porous as it is now, right? Because now it's not just porous, it's like an open invitation.
Yeah.
Which is just insane. And then if you want to come here from Europe, like say if you're a mathematician or something like that, or even a friend of mine from Estonia who's a comedian, he's trying very hard to get his green card. It's a difficult process. But if you want to come here illegally, all you have to do is walk. Right. They'll let you in, they give you a cell phone, they give you money, they'll put you up at a hotel, they give you free food. It's
just
crazy.
Back there, they throw away their IDs and everything.
Yep.
Before they come across the border, you can say you're anybody. Yeah. From any country.
Yeah. No genetics testing.
No questions asked. Just, nothing. Come to a future court date, maybe.
Yeah, it's 7 years.
What state would you like to go to?
Right. And then the court dates are years ahead. So you get to live in this country illegally subsidized for years. Mm-hmm. And you would assume that those people are going to vote for the people that did that for them. And I think that's part of the issue.
And, a lot of there's deals made with the cartel and all this stuff. The cartel is just like... The cartel is charging them, $5,000 a head? $5,000 a head times 15 million. What does that come to? That's a lot of money.
Jesus Christ.
That I think basically our government has been paying for a lot, subsidizing them over there and dealing with the cartel. And the world is turned upside down. It really is, at least from the world I went to. But, I'm old, and so maybe not so relevant, but
not true.
I don't think that common sense. I think it's always relevant, if you ask me.
It's relevant. Yeah. It's very relevant. Everything's relevant. It's also like everybody recognizes that this is not the best course for everybody, for the whole country. Regardless of if you're a left-wing person, you do not want terrorists sneaking into this country and blowing up cities. You don't. Of course you don't.
No.
So if there's an option where they can get here easily and quickly, you would want to seal that up for everybody. Yeah. Even if you're a kind person that thinks we should make some sort of a path to citizenship, which I agree. Like your housekeeper, I agree. Yeah, absolutely. There should be some sort of a path where people who are here. Look, I'm the grandchild of immigrants. People came across because they wanted a better life, but it was easier to do back then, the 20s.
Yeah.
Not hard. Get over
That's
here.
true.
Once you're here, you can settle down.
Yeah.
I mean, there should be a path, and that's one of the things that made America so interesting, because it's a melting pot of all these ambitious people that came here from a place that sucked, and they carved out a life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There should be a path. I'm all for immigrants.
It should
from
be a
everywhere.
legal path.
From everywhere. Just to do it the right way.
Right.
It's better for everybody.
Yes, better for everybody.
You know, that's just the way it is. I mean, as it is now, it's just that, Venezuelan gangs are,
Yep.
are all moving into the same neighborhood. And it's very much
What do you
like
see
the
that thing in
Five
Aurora,
Points,
Colorado?
back in the New York days. What?
The Aurora, Colorado apartment building. Do you know that issue?
No.
Okay. There's an apartment building in Aurora, Colorado that has been taken over by Venezuelan gangs.
Yeah.
And so they essentially, no one can collect rent anymore. The gang's collecting rent. They're evicting everyone out of the building, and they're controlling this building. And everyone's aware of it.
Yeah,
and it's
basically
been
squatting or the laws, using the laws of the United States.
Exactly, because Colorado is incredibly liberal,
Right.
and that area is incredibly liberal. And
Yeah.
so, see if you can find that story on the Venezuelan gangs taking over the apartment building in Colorado. I was watching a news piece on it today, where they were expressing this real confusion and frustration that there was nothing that they could be doing about this, and that they have different doors have X's on them. The red X's are when people have been evacuated from the apartment.
Says that they shut it down.
They shut down slumlord apartment. Wait a minute, slumlord. Are they saying anything about the gangs?
That's what I googled, and it says they.
Are they calling them slumlords now?
Aurora evictions draw attention to owners' neglect at other apartments. Yeah, maybe that's true. But what about the gangs?
That's what I googled, and this is what pops up.
Yeah, see, that's the problem with Google. There's some stories. Okay, Special Task Force, check that out. Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Special Task Force investigating Venezuelan gangs' alleged ties to Aurora. Aurora City Council officials say that apartment complex on Nome Street is closing due to code violations, but some council members allege there's more to the story. So this is what I've been reading. What I've been reading is that these Venezuelan gangs have occupied this thing. The gang known as Tren de Aragua started out as a prison gang in Venezuela, has expanded throughout the Western Hemisphere. Last month, the Biden administration designated the gang as a transnational criminal organization, accusing it of engaging in human smuggling and trafficking, gender-based violence, money laundering, and illicit drug trafficking. Aurora Police Department, in partnership with the Raven Task Force, has assigned 4 detectives to a special task force that includes additional local, state, and federal partners to investigate the violent crime impacting our migrant community, said Aurora PD spokesperson late Thursday. Yeah.
Well,
they had taken over an apartment complex.
Yeah.
The city is closing near Colfax and Peoria. Interesting.
So they just basically take over an apartment complex, and there's ain't nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
Type of situation.
Yeah.
You can go through the courts all you want.
Well, especially if our laws are so lax.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's not good. And
No.
if they're all flooding in through the border, and these are the type of people that are flooding, those guys aren't coming over legally, the Venezuelan
No.
gang members. So that
No.
that is an effect of what this.
Basically, especially Venezuela. I mean,
Yes.
that's been going on for a while. People trying to leave the country, and then they empty the jails,
Yeah.
like Castro did. Empty the jails and let them come out. Because the gangs they're a political force. At some point they become a political force.
Yeah.
Because how many that takes, but that's what they're doing.
Especially
It's
when you
guerrilla
have
warfare almost.
You have things like defunding the police and this lack of appreciation for law enforcement.
Yeah, and no cash bail. It's just a slap on the wrist.
All of it is crazy.
You can beat up cops and it's okay.
You can beat up cops as an illegal immigrant on film, and you just get let out of jail, and the kid's giving the Tupac double fingers to the.
Yeah. Oh man,
crazy.
Wow.
This is what is the end game of this type of behavior, and how is there no course correction? That's what's scary to people, and what should be scary to people, because this seems like if I wanted to throw the country into complete chaos, that's how I would do it.
Of course,
I'd have gangs come in through the border.
That's the way Stalin did it. They were involved in Stalin in his earlier his career. That they robbed banks.
Wow.
That's what they did. They were a gang and basically mayhem, but they robbed banks to finance the cause.
Crazy. What a weird time.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Dennis, I appreciate you very much. I've always loved your movies.
Hey,
I
same
really
on you,
enjoyed
man.
talking to you.
Yeah, really.
It's a lot of fun.
Couple of conspiracy theorists just getting together, talking it over.
Couple of loons.
Getting that adrenaline rush.
When does Reagan come out?
Reagan comes out August the 30th.
All right. Well,
And,
I'll be watching.
Quite a few theaters, actually.
There it is.
And I'm very proud of it. I love the movie, and number one, I hope people are entertained. And also, if you were born before 1985, you can go to remember how great this country used to be. And if you're after 1985, you can see it, and you can realize how great this country still could be.
All right. Thank you very much, brother. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thanks,
everybody.